Hey guys, what's going on? This is Damian Forrester here. I am so excited because I have one of our speakers for the Montana Real Estate Summit that's happening this February 2026, and it is Liz Cruz from Colorado. Yes, we have individuals not only from within the state, but around the country that are coming in. And Liz is one of those individuals to be talking some great and giving some great nuggets to provide to you information to help you with your business. So I want to delve into this, talk a little bit about Liz here. From what I understand, North Colorado's real estate performer, top agent, like 5,000 agents in her market, and she read somewhere top like within 300. That says a lot. And beginning a real estate journey, I think I heard, not heard, but saw 15 years old. I want to hear about how that worked. HCTV. Really excited to hear about how that worked out with you, and congratulations. Investing definitely at the age of 20. It's early in her 20s. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, as well as her parts of her journey within the luxury commercial farm and ranch division of her brokerage. So Liz, enough about me talking about you. I want to hear more about your origin story. Liz, talk about your success, talk about who you are. How'd you get into real estate?
Yeah, it's kind of a wild story. It's a little bit of a unique start, I would say. But my family, we humble beginnings, a lot of military background in my family, and a lot of state employees. So it was always stability minded. So real estate was not seen as a career option for me, but my family in various ways loves homes or have had to buy homes that needed to be renovated in order to work within our budget. So growing up, my mom I grew up in New England, about an hour north of Boston. So we had a 200-year-old house and completely renovated it. Mostly my mom did most of it herself. And I was there helping her with that, and we eventually got selected to be on HGTV to feature this renovation that we did. So that was pretty amazing to be a part of that experience. And it's one of those things when looking back, my mom and I would go on walks in the evening, and a lot of times we would do that at dusk because we wanted to see the houses. And when it's at dusk, you can sometimes see, some of their finishes and things like that. And it was something where when I eventually got licensed, it was like, oh, real estate's always been there. It's always been an interest. It's always been a part of it. My grandfather built very simple homes for his career, towards the end of his career. So it was something that was always threaded in there, but I was always stability minded. So I went a different path first. And then coming to Colorado in 2015, I started buying homes that I truly had no business buying because I could not afford it. I was in grad school and I had mountains of student loan debt, and I was just trying to find a way to get out of that. And also, I knew that healthcare was stable, but I also knew that just working a W-2 job was not going to get me into retirement where I wanted to be and achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve. So I knew that real estate was something I could put my hands on and physically change and have some control over that. And so that's the way that I went. So I started buying homes. And I would tell my tenants, if you can't pay the mortgage, I can't pay the mortgage. So you got to pay me so I can pay that so we can keep the house. And that was kind of how it started. So I fortunately, my timing in the market was really great for Colorado. And I built a little portfolio, had some really great performing assets there, was able to learn a lot about real estate along those lines, and then eventually ended up actually getting licensed and making the change.
So would you say it was like a trial by error? Because it sounds like at first you said college and you started purchasing in college. Is that right? How did you get there? I mean, for me, when I got started in real estate, I met my wife, and I came here to Montana, and I was like, okay, I need something to do. But it seems like it was embedded within your family, from within your heart, to go in there, and you took something. I mean, how did the financing come for that?
Yeah, I mean, my family has always been interested in real estate, but they're not risk takers. My family is very low risk. And where I was standing at the time was like, what do I have to lose? Like,
Right.
I have a lot of student loan debt that's not forgivable if you file for bankruptcy, doesn't go away. I had no other, debt, and I had, kind of a long timeline of punching the clock to try to pay that off. So I was like, well, no risk, no reward. So
Got it.
let's just go for it. So I just started saving. I mean, I've always been somebody that's been a hustler. So in college, I mean, I would go and, when lazy college kids would move out of the dorms and they'd throw all their furniture away and it was perfectly good furniture, I would be the crazy person in the dumpster pulling it out. So I would pull it out to my townhome in my little neighborhood where I had multiple roommates, and they probably hated me at times. They come home and like, why does this smell like spray paint? But I would pull out all this furniture and I'd sell it on Craigslist, and I would nanny and I would do all these different things. So I was always hustling. I was always very money minded. My dad would tell you a story of when I was probably 7 or 8, and he said, we can either go to Disney or we can get a dog. And I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. And anyone who knows me knows I love dogs. So me and my brother agreed on Disney, but I saved my allowance for months until I had over $200 at that age, and went to my dad and said, can we get a dog now? And I paid for half our family dog. So, so for me, it was always being, hard work and discipline. You can have a modest budget, and if you work your budget correctly and live below your means, you can make a lot possible.
It sounds like you're leading by revenue, right? You probably heard that. I'm sure you've heard that term before. And so for agents that actually, I want to shift a little bit. Let's talk about relationships. All right. So what type of relationships do you feel agents should probably intentionally be building if they wanted to level up their business? It sounds like it wasn't the right place at the right time, but just building relationships among people to help you get to where you are. Is that something that might be on point with?
Yeah, so once I got licensed, it was definitely became quickly about network. Before I got licensed, it was really about just kind of like being gutsy and going for it and hoping for the best. And then once I got licensed and it was more of a professional space, the saying your network is your net worth is like very, very true. And I think a lot of the same principles apply though. So one of the ways I was able to network with influential people and influential clients was by just working really hard and anticipating their needs and showing some initiative and putting things together in a clear and like cohesive way, and understanding that when you're working with high net worth individuals or developers, that their time is their biggest asset. And so being able to do some of that legwork, answer the obvious questions, and then package it in a way for them that is easily digestible and skimmable or delegatable to the rest of their staff. Being able to demonstrate that from like an initial impression immediately kind of would get their attention, and then they would invest in me a little bit more with their time and effort. And so I've been fortunate with the network that I built that I had a lot of people that were way further down the road than me that saw that in me and were willing to invest some of their time and energy in educating me further, because they knew I would take that and then benefit them. So that's definitely been a huge part. And I moved to Colorado in 2015. I knew my dad and my brother and my sister-in-law. So I knew nobody. So in the last 10, almost 11 years now, I've built that network. And so it's one of those things that just because you didn't grow up somewhere doesn't mean that you can't build a meaningful network within that space and be able to push your business beyond what you may have thought was possible. So don't let that be a limiting factor, is a big piece of advice.
Outstanding. That is a great piece of advice that you're giving there. So, are you still working with a lot of investors right now?
Yeah, I do. So I work with investors, kind of umbrella term of all levels. So I at one point was a first time little baby investor trying to buy single family or duplex type rentals. And so I definitely work with those investors a lot in my residential space. And then I also do work with different types of developers. So I've sold quite a few irrigated farms for development and worked several different creative sales structures and things like that within those those deals. And I have some other mineral rights, water rights, different type of development projects that I'm working on right now.
Well, I'm sound pretty savvy within both those parts. So, I saw that you were in the farm and ranch division, and you mentioned it right there. How did that investment side lead, or did it lead into that farm and ranch, or how'd you get into that?
Yeah, so it's funny. Everyone thinks like farm and ranch, like, oh, you must be like ride all the horses and do all the things.
Right,
And
right,
I,
right.
I grew up rural. I grew up with chickens. We grew up doing, go sleep in the woods when you're in high school and hang out with your friends and things like that. But I am not what you would say is like a stereotypical like ranch person. Like I'm definitely more of a ranch person than I am a city person. But I like being close to stuff. I'm not like looking to live on a billion acres and have a ton of the animals. I love the mini cows; they're so cute. But I've been on a horse twice, and my thing I always say is like I've been on a horse twice and I fell off once. So I'm not a huge horse person in terms of riding, and so it's very different, right? A lot of times when you get into the land, ranch, farm space, it is about people who really grew up in that life, like really intensely. And I didn't. I grew up in that life kind of like adjacently. So I do think that you can still work in that space, but it just is going to take a little bit more work to understand the lifestyle, understand the needs and wants of those different demographics. Because when I'm working in development, and I have a 80-something-year-old farmer whose kids don't want the farm and there's nowhere else to leave it. And a lot of times they haven't done proper planning for their estate or like tax anticipations. It's really great to be able to be in a position where I can help not only my client who's the buyer, but also the seller and saying like, hey, let's talk about like, have you done tax planning and how can we structure the sale to benefit you because you've worked your entire life to be able to leave this to your children. And that's the most important thing. And so to be able to meet their goals and meet my clients' goals is huge. And I basically got into that space from working with residential investors. And that's where most agents start, right? You get licensed, you start selling, regular homes, your friends, family, things like that. I didn't have the contacts where my family had developer contacts. Like I said, I moved here in 2015. I knew nobody. So I just started kind of working in that space, and I actually fell into a portfolio opportunity of it was like 12 different residential homes, rental properties. Some of them were multifamily that were owned by one person, and they were looking to sell all of them. And so I kind of put out some feelers, and I had another agent reach out and said, hey, I had a client that might be interested in that whole portfolio. And it kind of ran from there with partnering with that other agent as well as the client themselves for, years and years. And that's what got me into the farm space, because that client was a developer for residential subdivisions and lots of other things.
I absolutely love how you wrap that up at the end, because here I'm thinking, like you said, when I first came to Montana, it was like one thing, Damien, you never ask a farmer or someone about how many heads of cows they have, because that's their money, right? You're talking about their money. And I thought you were going to be going on that side of the farm and ranch thing, but all of a sudden the whole investment side and helping the kids to take that farm and make it an investment for themselves, or maybe selling it, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. I didn't figure out how that was going to wrap up, but man, I've learned a lot right there alone. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So would you say that casting a wider net for networking would be a better thing than focusing on something smaller? I guess what I'm trying to put, would you think that the right network basically is better than a larger network, or a larger network it would be better than just focus on the right people?
I definitely think the right network. I think to get specific, when you try to speak to everybody, you speak to nobody. So just try to get specific with who is the type of client or the type of space that you want to work in, and really get into that. Now, for me, because I started as an investor, started working with residential investors, which parlayed into larger investors and developers, and that kind of became my path. And I also think there's a lot of truth in like go through the door that's open, right? So don't try to force something to work if it's not going to work. Look at where's your opportunity and where are you feeling pushed, and then go explore that, because you just never know where it's going to lead. And also just like follow up in the right way is huge. So when you identify your niche and what space you really want to work in, follow up in the right way is really, really important.
Outstanding. Yeah, definitely believe in that. All right, so you're going to be speaking at the Montana Real Estate Summit, and here's that little plug I'm going to give. February 19th to the 21st, you have some time, and you're going to be speaking on networking. And we gave a lot of great bits of information right now. Really excited to hear more about what you have to say. So what would you want to leave off with right now for those agents that are going to be coming? What are they going to be getting? Or what are they going to be hearing from you?
Yeah, I mean, I think some more nitty-gritty details and takeaways from my experience that you can employ into your business, and then also some ways that you can identify how you can best network. Are you networking correctly? Are you networking with the right people? And if you're not, or you're not exactly where you want to be, then how can you course correct and get into those rooms and in contact with those people in order to get your business to the level that you want it to go?
Outstanding. So if anybody wanted to reach out to you in regards to your social media, Insta, whatever you want to leave us with, that'd be great. So we can connect with you and get some more information. How can we get a hold of you?
At Liz Cruz Real Estate is my handle on Instagram, Facebook. I probably am most active on Instagram, so you can reach out to me there.
I'm assuming you're taking referrals too, right?
Yeah, always.
And that's what this is all about. So we're going to be having fun. It's in Fairmont. Have you ever been to Fairmont?
I haven't. I've never been to Montana, so I'm really excited.
So yeah, it's going to be an exciting time. We're going to have fun. You're going to see some beauty. Colorado is beautiful. Been there many times, but Montana, I tell you, has its own beauty. And so you'll get an opportunity to visit that and see that and meet some amazing people. So thank you very much for taking the time and visiting with us today and sharing all that great information. Anything else you want to leave off with?
No, I'm just excited to be there and connect with everybody, and hopefully bring some value and give you some good takeaways.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much once again for visiting with us, and we will see you in Montana pretty soon.